In Africa, agriculture plays a key role in driving the economy and essential for many people's lives. It also fosters social cohesion and preserves traditions and culture. In Africa, agriculture is a source of raw materials and food for millions of people. It provides jobs for over 62% of the population in the continent. Smallholder farmers make up to about 80% of all farms in Africa, and they are responsible in feeding the continent. However, the hunger situation in Africa is dire due to various reasons, including inadequate funding to the agriculture sector, poor infrastructure, especially rural roads, and post-harvest losses and internal conflicts among many. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO) report of 2023 indicates food insecure people in Africa were 868 million, while in 2021, undernourished people were 282 million due to drought, displacement, and environmental degradation. The Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program (CAADP) process started 21 years ago in 2003, which culminated to the Maputo Declaration. This declaration was implemented between 2005 to 2008.
CAADP, we can say it is our common agricultural program for the continent. CAADP was adopted in 2003. Our head of states decided to put agriculture as a priority. So CAADP, it is the flagship program. It is the all food system that exists for us to implement and make sure that all our citizens on the continent have access to affordable, safe, and available foods.
Among the commitments was for each African country to allocate at least 10% of the national budget to the agriculture sector and to ensure 6% annual growth of the sector, as well as to improve productivity and livelihoods for farmers through unlocking the full potential of Africa's agricultural sector as a catalyst for prosperity and sustainable development. The Maputo Declaration focused on 4 pillars, in which pillar number 2 on rural development and infrastructure did not feature so much in the followed Malabo Declaration. By the end of 2008, many African countries had not fulfilled the Maputo Declaration. In 2014, during the African Union Summit in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, African heads of state and government adopted a remarkable set of concrete agriculture goals which were to be attained by 2025. The Malabo Declaration on Accelerated Agricultural Growth and Transformation for Shared Prosperity and Improved Livelihoods is a set of goals showing a more targeted approach to achieve the agricultural vision for the continent, which is shared prosperity and improved livelihoods. How has Esaff and farmers engaged in the CAADP processes in the last 20 years? Esaff and her supporters, who are national farmers organizations in 17 countries in Eastern and Southern Africa, has successfully engaged with policymakers and lawmakers around CAADP Malabo goals at district level, national level, and regional level. Esaff also worked with different funders and other organizations to advocate for the full implementation of 7 Malabo goals. These organizations are Oxfam International, Bread for the World from Germany, Pelham Association, the Southern African Trust based in Johannesburg, Trust Africa based in Dakar, Senegal, Action Aid International, CAADP, NSA Group, CNG, and the PSA Alliance. Through these collaborations, Esaff gained a lot of achievements and successes, which among others includes the East African Parliament passed the Zanzibar Resolution on Malabo on October 2016, which called for speedy implementation of Malabo in East African countries. The resolution saw East African Legislative Assembly MPs visiting member states to oversee the implementation of Malabo. Another major achievement is associated with 1 million farmer petition in July 2019, which was later submitted by the farmers to the East African Community Head of State Summit through the Speaker of East African Legislative Assembly, Honorable Martin Ngonga. Another major achievement of Esaff engagement on CAADP is on SADC. Working with the PSA Alliance, the SADC Parliamentary Forum, SADC-PF, passed a motion on CAADP Malabo in 2021, which called for fully and speedily implementation of the Malabo Declaration 7 goals in Southern African countries. Another achievement includes institutionalization of the annual Farmers Agriculture Budget Summit in East Africa in the SADC. The summit brings together members of parliament, farmers' organizations, and NGOs to discuss and deliberate on the CAADP implementation. Following the Comprehensive African Agricultural Development Programs CAADP, the Maputo Declaration and the Malabo Declaration biennial review report have been released after every 2 years to monitor and evaluate the progress of African countries towards achieving agricultural transformation and food security goals. Since the Malabo Declaration was launched in 2014 to achieve 7 goals, by 2024, 4 reports have been released. The first biennial review report with a benchmark of 3.94 shows that 20 out of 47 African countries were on track to achieve the Malabo goals. The second biennial review report of 2019 had a benchmark of 6.66. Only 4 countries out of 49 who reported were on track to achieve Malabo goals. These countries are Rwanda, Morocco, Mali, and Ghana. The third biennial review report of 2021 with a benchmark of 7.28, only the Republic of Rwanda was on track out of 51 African member states that submitted their report. And according to the fourth biennial review report of 2023 with a benchmark of 9.29 shows that no African country is on track towards achieving the CAADP Malabo commitments by 2025. The Eastern and Southern Africa Small-Scale Farmers Forum, Esaff, representing 5.5 million small-scale farmers in 17 countries in Africa, which advocate for a united voice for small-scale farmers to ensure concerns are addressed in policies and practices at all levels. In relation to the Post-Malabo consultation, Esaff acknowledges the opportunity accorded by the AUC to different stakeholders, including farmers and non-governmental organizations, to air our voices in the coming 10 years Kampala Declaration on agriculture transformations in Africa. These recommendations are coupled with extensive experience on the ground and in policy discussions from the grassroots level to national level and regional level. We are calling for the following critical actions to be incorporated in the coming Kampala Declaration 2025 to 2035. Number 1, putting smallholder farmers at the center of food system in Africa. Smallholder farmers is a diverse group which include crop growers, livestock keepers, fisher folk, and beekeepers whom are central to food systems and agricultural production. African food producers are mainly women, youth, and poor men whom significantly contribute to food security, raw materials availability, and rural livelihoods. Any sound policy framework like the Kampala Declaration should put interest and support to ensure that Africa becomes food and nutrition secure and be able to feed Africa and the world at large in the coming years.
It is only agriculture and agro-based industries which will transform this region. It is not the oil, it is not the minerals, it is the many opportunities of employing the many people in the region, because already 70% of them are already engaged in that sector.
Number 2, Africa Rural Transformation as Center of Food Production and Transformation. According to the World Bank, 58% of Africa's population resides in rural areas, where the majority of food producers, predominantly women who engage in farming activities. The Maputo Declaration 2003 emphasized on rural development. The Kampala Declaration 2025 to 2035 should take into account substantial financing is located to ensure rural electrification and infrastructure are in place, such as irrigation, electricity, rural roads, warehouses, cold rooms, and better services of water supply, education, health, ICT, and affordable loans to producers are available to make rural areas centers of food production, food processing, value addition, and marketing in Africa. Number 3, the Kampala Declaration should continue embracing the indicator of 10% budget allocation to agriculture sector, and the 6% growth should be retained, as it was in the Maputo 2003 and the Malabo 2014 declarations. The allocation of 10% motivates all stakeholders and African member states to remind on their commitments and measure their seriousness towards transforming agriculture through financing. Number 4, embracing food sovereignty and financing agroecology. As smallholder farmers are calling for food sovereignty to be included in the Kampala Declaration, Africa should reproduce its own healthy, ecological, and culturally food and reduce foreign food dependence. According to World Bank, currently, Africa spends $43 billion annually for food imports and is expected to reach $110 billion by 2030. According to the FAO's 10 elements of agroecology and the high-level panel of experts of the UN, agroecology supports sustainable food systems by improving resilience to climate change and other shocks, ensuring long-term food security and food sovereignty as it enhances biodiversity, nutritious and safe foods. Soil health, because organic fertilizer does not increase soil acidity. Number 5, recognition and support of farmer-managed seed system for diversity, nutritious food, culture, food sovereignty, and climate resilience. Farmer-managed seed system contribute to variety of nutritious food supporting dietary diversity. Number 6, financing rural cooperatives and crop growers associations. Cooperatives play a crucial role in enhancing inclusive agricultural and food system development. Hence, the Kampala Declaration needs to support these entities. Policy and financial support should ensure favorable environment with tailored programs, resources, and training which empower women, young people, and poor men to take on leadership roles and enhance agricultural skills, thereby increasing our productivity, food security, and income. Number 7, recognition and support of informal cross-border traders. The Kampala Declaration should address informal cross-border challenges, including levies, taxes, and sanitary and phytosanitary SPS standards, as well as cumbersome export procedures. The Kampala Declaration cannot ignore small intra-regional agro-cross-border traders who make about 40% to 50% of the entire trade volumes in Africa. Policies are needed to support marketing access to smallholder farmers for agricultural produce. Smallholder producers, processors, and traders, especially women, should be capacitated on the SPS. Number 8, national financing for adaptation for climate resilience. African countries should invest more for adaptation and ensure timely and easy access of early warning systems for smallholder farmers. This will help farmers prepare for and mitigate the impacts of adverse weather conditions, pest outbreaks, and other environmental shocks. Experts suggest that climate adaptation in Africa will require financing of over $50 billion a year until 2030, but will increase over years if necessary actions are not put in place. Number 9, digitalization of agriculture that supports smallholder farmers. Substantial investments are required in telecommunications infrastructure, including the construction of telecom towers and the expansion of high-speed internet through fiber optic networks in rural areas. These investments are critical for providing reliable digital services that support agricultural production, such as extension services accessible via mobile phones, weather forecasts, pest and disease control, and information on market prices to enhance economic growth and improving the livelihoods of small-scale farmers. Number 10, funding the process at regional and national level from the government coffers for the Biennial Review report to work. Smallholder farmers call on African government to set aside dedicated funding for the Biennial Review report. Adequate funding will ensure effective data collection, analysis, and reporting processes are detailed, accurate, and timely, as well as engagement of various stakeholders. Number 11, domestication and ratification of the Kampala Declaration by parliaments. Farmers call upon for the Kampala Declaration to be discussed and ratified by the AU member states to ensure that it is fully and speedily implemented, and member states fund its implementation and reporting. Farmers emphasizes the need for greater involvement of parliamentarians in CAADP processes, which will lead to better agricultural policy formulation and implementation. Parliamentarians should advocate for supportive policies, allocate adequate resources, and ensure accountability in the agricultural sector through the parliamentary standing committees. Smallholder farmers in the region appreciate the AUC for its leadership in the agricultural transformation in Africa and for being consistent in promoting the CAADP agenda towards the realization of the Africa Agenda 2063. The Africa we want, through attaining food security, and food security in Africa will be contributing towards achieving the United Nations Sustainable Goal number 1 and 2, ending hunger and halving poverty. We acknowledge the AU system, particularly the FAO and the UNICEF, for the contribution in the agricultural transformation in Africa. The Africa we want is possible. Let us invest to transform agriculture by putting smallholder farmers at the center. Another better, food secure, food sovereignty and malnutrition-free Africa is possible.